Apologies in advance, I still have a horrible cold, so I want to keep this video as short as possible. But what I wanted to do, because a lot of people don't understand this, is show you the difference between 40mm NATO STANAG filters, like the S10 filter on the right, and 40mm GOST or Soviet filters on the left. Because although they're both 40mm, they're actually different with the screw thread, because people keep asking me, can I fit this Soviet mask or NATO filter, you know, like NATO filter or Soviet filter onto the other type of mask? And the answer isn't really yes you can, it's more of a no, but it varies a bit, so I'll show you how the screws look and why they don't work on a lot of masks. At the back we have an Israeli 4A1, because Jacob Dagger said to me that you can actually use both types of filters successfully with Israeli and Chinese masks, which I thought was quite interesting, so I'll use this one as an example. But generally the logic is GOST filters seem to screw in okay to NATO masks because of the sort of slightly thinner thread on them, but not the other way around. So although you can force a 40mm NATO STANAG filter onto a GP5 for example, you're not making a proper airtight seal, because air can get around the outside of the filter into the mask. However, as said, there's a bit of variety to this. So what I'm going to do first is angle the camera so you can see the screws side on, and then hopefully you can see how the screws are different, sort of in terms of thickness and angle of the screw, and then we will actually look at putting them onto a mask, etc. Right, hopefully there you can get a good side-on view of the GP5, so a GOST filter on the left and the S10 filter on the right, so a STANAG screw. So if I move those a bit closer to the camera, hopefully you can see there that the GP5 one is at a different angle as the STANAG screw. Unfortunately I couldn't find sort of two filters which had a silver screw on each, because then it would probably be easier to see, but if you look at these, the thickness and the angle of the screw thread is different on both of the filters. So that's the reason why you can't use, you know, like a NATO filter on a Soviet gas mask properly. It just doesn't work. It won't make a proper seal. Also, the top of the filters tend to be a bit different. But you should hopefully be able to see that the S10 filter has a much more angular going down, sort of on the diagonal screw, where the GOST screw thread doesn't have such a sharp sort of descent on it. So to make sense of that, if you were screwing in a actual screw into the wall where you drilled a proper screw point, obviously the drill bit would have the same screw angle as the screw. If the screw had a different screw angle, you'd essentially be making a fresh hole when you put the screw in, because you would be having to dig in again, and that's how it works with gas mask filters. So as in, for some reason NATO filters obviously will work on NATO masks, that's what they're designed for, but it seems GOST filters also seem to go into NATO masks fine. Why that is probably something to do with the angle on the screw. But what I'll show you now is screwing both of them into Israeli masks. You should see they hopefully make a good fit. And one of the reasons I think that also is because the Israeli masks have, around this section, a much wider sort of washer and area that probably is designed to just block stuff in the mask. People are asking if you could use a NATO filter with a GP5 and make an airtight seal, and I think if you put some sort of insulating putty at the bottom of the filter once it's screwed in, not at the bottom of the filter like there, but you know, around this area, once it's screwed in, or maybe duct tape, you might be able to make a seal, but you can still buy GOST filters that are new which are safe, so just do that. So anyway, let me show you putting them onto the mask so you can see how a dually compatible mask would work. So first, a NATO filter on the Israeli mask. Right, that's in tight. No issues, a good connection, and obviously that's an airtight seal. So let's take this off and use a GOST filter. Again, a good seal. It seems, I think maybe that lip is designed in that way on the Israeli mask, so once you have a Russian filter that goes all the way in, that lip touches that bit of the filter to block it, so it actually is dually compatible. That would be my guess. But the issue is with, for example, a Soviet mask like a GP5, if you're screwing a NATO filter in which is longer, the GP5 will get to about there, there'll still be a bit of screw, and then there's a gap where, although you can't really see it with your eye, air will force its way up. So you could use an old GP5 filter, for example, with an Israeli mask. Not that I'd recommend you do it, obviously, because we know about the safety concerns of these filters. But it is interesting they made a dually compatible mask like the Chinese for, you know, just sake of convenience for getting filters for the mask. If they had a spat with some NATO countries, they could probably buy them from anywhere else in the world to actually fit the filter on. So there you go. That's quite interesting to me, but hopefully this will, you know, say to you why you can't use any filter with any mask. They both say 40mm, but it's not the same screw. This is a different screw to this one. So unless you've got a specialist mask that takes both types of filters by having a special screw area where you've got, you know, a bit to cover the blockage or the leak in the filter so it doesn't leak, they won't both work. But hopefully this has explained it to you, and you now know that you need to get a GOST filter for a Soviet mask. 40mm NATO won't make an airtight seal, unless of course you put some putty or something around the bottom of the screw so you can make an airtight seal that way. But maybe that explains it to you. If not, then I'm afraid I'll just have to keep angrily replying in the comments to it.